like to call this meeting of the Jacksonville Planning Advisory Board for Monday, November 14th at 6:01. At this time, would please ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
If you would, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity to be together and do the city's business. We'd ask for blessings, for your grace, for things that we don't deserve. We'd ask for blessings for mercy, for those things that we do deserve. We'd ask that you watch over those men and women that serve in harm's way this day on our behalf. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, at this time we have approval of the agenda. If you'll take a look at the agenda, are there any corrections, Mr. King? Hearing none, motion is in order.
I make that motion.
Motion second. Motion from Dr. Hassan, second by Bob. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like. Motion passes. Review of the minutes. You've had a chance to look through them. Does anyone have any changes or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, a motion is in order.
I make a motion we approve the minutes from last month's meeting, October the 10th.
Motion to approve the minutes from October 10th by Dr. Hassan. Second. Second by Grace. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed, like. Motion passes. City Council update.
Hey, how you doing?
Mr.
Just had a couple things, nothing too crazy. We passed the special use permit for Infinite Prague and for the site plan for the AA stores going on Lejeune Boulevard. So that all got passed through City Council. And then we also got to visit Jackie and Miette last Wednesday. That was really neat. That's going to be opening soon. They're hoping to have that open, I think, hopefully by Christmas. Miss Susan is hoping for that. So that was, it's once you get to see it, and if you remember what the old one looked like, it's going to be a great asset for the city for years to come. So it's a really good, they did a great job with that. So that's it.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we thank you for your service. There being no old business, we'll go right to new business. And Jeremy, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Advisory Board. Agenda item 1 is a proposed rezoning at 1950 Gum Ranch Road. Ms. Mary S. Crutis has submitted a request to rezone 3 parcels totaling 1.75 acres from neighborhood commercial to corridor commercial. This is the site before you on the screen. During his review, staff identified the adjacent property on the Catalyst Church's owned property that is also zoned neighborhood commercial, and we are recommending to rezone it to corridor commercial as well to prevent the creation of a non-conforming situation. If we were to propose it to be zoned residential as the rest of the church property, it would require any future compliance that Ms. Cruz's property would have to install a 30-foot buffer along the rear and side of her properties where it bounds that. So in an effort not to create a nonconformity, we're also recommending to rezone that to corridor commercial. Before you use the Camel land use plan, the light blue is public, the pink is neighborhood commercial as identified in the Camel land use plan. Both the existing and proposed rezoning would support these future land use designations. The screen before you is the proposed zoning, again, as compare the neighborhood commercial to proposed corridor commercial. The church's property, the portion zoned neighborhood commercial is approximately 1.84 acres. Their total tract of property is 27 acres. Again, I'll back up to the aerial so you can see what that portion of their property is being used for. While it is a dark, bold square that highlights all four properties, the portion of the church is part of their larger tract. That is not a separate parcel, it's part of it. So that means if the zoning is taken forward, it will continue to be split zoned. Staff is recommending approval of this request by Ms. Crutis, with findings of fact A through J being found in the affirmative, and that the rezoning advances the public interest by creating more development opportunities. There are a number of uses allowed in the corridor commercial zoning district that are not currently permitted outright in the neighborhood commercial. That would include restaurants with drive-throughs, just general retail, which is one of the things Ms. Crutis is having problems with. She's had tenants that want to use the space, but they fall into the retail classification. And if this rezoning was to move forward, then it would open up opportunities for her to have that type of lease. Representatives from Tidewater and Associates, Ms. Crutis' design professional, are in attendance. They, along with staff, would be happy to answer any questions. Yes, sir.
Did you indicate that a portion of the property adjacent is right now zoned residential?
So, hopefully, let's see, this is marking up.
Yeah.
So, this area of Catalyst Church's property is zoned residential. This is a portion of their property zoned NC. So yes, their property is zoned residential, single-family 7. The church has a special use permit, so it's a valid use. It's conforming.
Well, I don't see that going residential anyway, the way it's been configured.
Understood.
Yeah.
But that's
Okay.
the residential I was talking
Very
about.
good, thank you.
So we're doing, go back to the slide.
Sorry about that.
There. So we're trying to rezone, no, one more, I'm sorry, the smaller 3 lots that already have development on it.
Correct. That is the request that staff received, and then
With that.
staff identified the approximate 1.84 acres.
Right. So
And
the
would like to-
parcel behind where the road that connects off of Plantation Boulevard is not part of this request. There's a little road that connects
It
right here.
is- it
Comes into Catalyst Church.
It is part of the rezoning request. That L shape that Jeremy showed is the catalyst portion that's split zoned that wasn't part of the original request. Staff has added, as a staff-initiated rezoning request, to include that L-shaped piece to go from neighborhood commercial to corridor commercial, along with the applicant's request, which was Ms. Crutis. So look at this 2 rezonings. The applicant's request, which is the 3 lots, and then the L-shaped piece owned by Catalyst Church. That is part of the overall 27-acre compound.
Okay.
So Catalyst will remain split zoned if we leave it alone or if we rezone it. Unless we were to rezone it to residential, which is not what we're proposing.
No. So shouldn't there be like a third request in here from Catalyst to take the property where their parking lot is and turn that into corridor commercial as well? No?
Yeah, this is staff, it's a staff-initiated, yep.
Switch to that, pretty much anything can go there in the future?
The L-shaped piece, the corridor commercial rules would apply versus the neighborhood commercial.
It is currently neighborhood commercial, which would allow anything within the neighborhood commercial zoning district. The church has never expressed wanting to develop that property, that portion of their property. But in an effort to, again, prevent a non-conforming situation for the 3 parcels that Ms. Crutis applied for, staff identified to bring forward that portion of their property to rezone it as CC as well, to prevent a non-conforming situation.
And the church is on board with that?
We've attempted to contact the church. Ryan has emailed, I've called, their voice box is full. But in terms of impact, the church does not pay taxes, so any tax effect, we do not believe this would affect taxes, but if it were, it would not affect financially. And again, we have not received a proposal for them to develop it under NC, but if they wanted to, it doesn't prevent them with the CC district. Those same uses are still permitted in the CC zoning district.
Signs out, and has anybody contacted you with concerns?
I had a gentleman contact me this afternoon concerned that it may have been dealing with Jacksonville High School. That's the only call I've gotten, and there was a handful of property owners along Ivory Lane, as well as the church, and the church to the southwest of this property, they all received notifications. We have not received any questions.
I guess my biggest concern, if it ever switched to that and say down the road and she sold the whole property out, someone tore it down and put, say, a gas station in there.
Sure.
Or something, or a fast food restaurant,
Correct.
or it have a lot more traffic impact on that neighborhood.
Very possible. Convenience store is a permitted use in the NC, so that wouldn't change in that regard. But, I mean, there are a number of other uses, like I said, drive-through restaurant being one of the shopping center, which is already a multi-tenant building.
Yeah.
So,
But it's not getting a lot of road traffic, though. Yeah.
correct.
I think the concern you raise is a valid one, that in 20 years from now, it's going to be zoned commercial.
That's what I'm thinking about. Not really now. I mean, I understand her point, but someday she's gonna probably sell it, you know, and then they could be whatever. And I think that'd be hard for the neighborhood.
Yeah, 'cause they use that okay, so you're telling me that L-shaped piece is owned by Catalyst,
Correct.
and the office development is owned by somebody else?
Correct.
You didn't split owners. Two
Right.
different owners. So, but so that's a staff-initiated thing to try to take that piece of property
Anytime-
owned by Catalyst to change it into the same type of commercial
Correct.
corridor. But if the church says, no, we don't want that, then that just stays the way it is.
It would, then we'd have three
But they-
different
I mean,
zonings
they've
in the
got to
area. You're
give
right.
you notice, otherwise it's gonna happen.
Correct.
But
Staff
then,
can still recommend to change it.
Yeah.
They can come to before city council and say, we don't want it rezoned.
Right.
But staff can still process it to make it kind of a full square there, if you will, and a full parcel versus having quarter commercial and then neighborhood commercial, which is what we did here.
Yeah,
They could come and speak, anybody could come speak in opposition of it.
right.
And we've done this a number of times where staff will identify zoning in the area that may present a conflict. And most recently, we did it with the Preston Road area. We had a proposed rezoning there, so it branched out into a large area rezoning. We tried to identify and hopefully correct some zoning issues. And with the request to rezone to CC, we saw a possible non-conforming situation arising.
I mean, if nothing happens to it now, the road stays the way it is, but like you brought up, if they sell it, then all of a sudden that road, and that road gets people out of that church. They come out there all the time, come up there, pick up Plantation, go out, because there's a traffic light there that helps control that. In and out, getting you over there, bus pickup, daycare, all that stuff. You shut that road down, now you're trying to go out, basically one way out of Catalyst Church.
Yeah, and I mean, that would be the church's, I guess, decision at that point.
Is there a way to, like, be able to help achieve what she's looking for and then not mess it up for the future, or a gas station or something major like that could go there at some point? So she could still, have some tenants. I mean, I understand her point of view. She wants that for that purpose, but, I mean, I'm not really 100% fond of potentially a restaurant or a gas station going right there.
Again, a restaurant could go there in both locations, just not one with a drive-through.
Oh, okay. But, yeah, that'd be hard. That'd be a small spot there.
She could request a conditional use district and then limit the uses. I mean, that's another option. The rezoning's not gonna change the driveway access that Catalyst has
Yeah, I
out to
understand that.
Plantation. That's probably gonna be a requirement for fire code, so I don't know that they could eliminate that access to begin with. I mean, we'd have to confirm that, but I don't think they'd be able to eliminate that second access on the Plantation.
So was it if the catalyst part doesn't get conformed to the corridor, commercial, that there's gonna be a 30-foot?
So if,
There would not be one.
There will not be.
But versus leaving an L shape of neighborhood commercial sandwiched between, we identified this as, let's rezone the whole entire 4 parcels, just to make it clean.
Right.
The board and council could certainly rezone just the 3 parcels and leave the catalyst part alone. That's certainly an option.
they would also have the option to downgrade the proposed rezoning and rezone it to residential, but that would, either leaving it as NC or zoning it residential and approving Ms. Crudis's request would create the non-conforming situation of, if she were to ever do significant improvements to her multi-tenant building or an addition would trigger compliance in terms of a 30-foot buffer along any zoning that differentiates to CC.
Neighborhood commercial and quarter commercial are the same, so the buffer would not be required there.
Okay.
If we change it to residential, it would be required.
Right.
That's one option that we talked about doing. We feel that doing it all the same is the better route.
So the L-shaped parcel owned by Catalyst Church, no one in the leadership, pastor or deacons or whatever have had any input on this.
That is correct. We've reached out.
I'm just
They
not-
have gotten the notice.
Right, but,
They've gotten the notice.
yeah.
And we have advertised for next Tuesday's meeting.
And me personally, I'd like to see the L shape stay like it is in residential,
I'm
and then
just kinda
and then just
torn
do
there on that one.
the front part for her.
The L shape
The L
is
shape's
not
not
currently
residential.
residential. It's neighborhood commercial.
Right.
Switch it, is that possible?
It's an option.
'Cause I mean, cause she doesn't own that part, so I don't see how that would mess her up, and if the church is not ever gonna change it, what will it matter to them?
That's true. The one
30-foot
problem,
setback would come into
But
play.
what would they need it for? They have just a driveway, I mean, they wouldn't really need they're not gonna build something there, so what would it matter if they have the setback or not? Cause they're not gonna I don't see them getting rid of the road, so what would it matter if they had a buffer in place?
I think the biggest thing is that the applicant, Ms. Crutis, would be negatively impacted if that L-shaped piece goes to residential because of the potential buffering requirements. It is an option. We could take that to residential, single-family 7. We talked about that this morning even.
I mean, I'm
But
not,
if you leave it alone, it looks like three colors.
That's correct.
If you leave the L alone. You've got the green Catalyst Church, you've got the L-shaped, which is
Light blue.
light blue, and then you'll have the three parcels that would then be red. And then Catalyst has nothing changed on them. It has no negative impact on the three parcels.
As they exist.
Right.
That's an option. You can
I
make
mean-
that as part of the motion. We're just saying, let's not leave this L-shape
I know.
a
Yeah.
step, but you certainly
I
can make that as your recommendation.
I think everybody, the questions I hear are, we'd really love to know what the church would think, and for all we know, they would go, oh yeah, we support that,
but we don't know that.
but we don't know
Yeah.
that. And I'm
And I get it,
uncomfortable.
you've reached out, but.
I know.
Dealing with the church body, as I've been on different committees, can be very difficult getting information disseminated out in a timely manner and not responding. And all of a sudden, we go in here and rezone this at a staff-initiated, I get it, you're trying to clean things up. I've been on this board long enough. You all do a great job. But all of a sudden, then it shows up, it goes through council, and it gets approved, and then someone says, whoa, we got the notice, but we didn't, and they don't understand the process. Hopefully they would.
But that's with.
I know that. I know
Send out.
anything. I get it. I know that. I'm not in favor of taking it and changing it into a neighborhood, rezoning. I'm not in favor of that at all. If not, just leave it as that parcel alone and take care of the initial applicant's request. Take care of the project site.
It sounds like a consensus might be that you'd be okay with rezoning the three parcels and leave the L-shaped alone. Is that correct?
Only because the church hasn't
Okay.
said, we like the idea.
Exactly.
Which city council could make that decision
Yeah.
at the.
And I'll
council
clarify that I'm not a member of that church, so there's no
Yeah.
conflict on my side in this, in questions and answers right now, so.
meeting. If you were to sell part of that L shape, let's suppose I'm the church and I sell part of that L shape to the person that currently or later owns the three parcels. The fact that it's zoned two different things would not be a problem. You'd probably make us come back and say, now you gotta have it all zoned the same. Right, yeah.
Unless there's something in the neighborhood commercial zone that would work for them, because that front part of the L shape is undeveloped right now.
Right.
Yeah, if you can see that from the aerial photograph.
Yeah. But it is a prime area that if you own the three parcels and you decided I want to sell this area or do something to it that takes a little bit more room, then I'll buy that. I'll go to the church and ask to buy that one little piece in front.
Yeah, they can subdivide it.
Yeah.
think that further justifies having the church's opinion, because if the church was sitting here saying, hey, we would love to sell it to Ms. Crutis, then they would definitely want it to be zoned the same currently. So I think that's just the ambiguity of not knowing the church's
Right, but that would
position.
be the church initiated thing then, if they wanted to come to you and say, hey, this is what we want
Right.
to do.
Jeremy, is there a timeline on this one? Is somebody trying to do?
Well, unfortunately, because we have advertised for the public hearing on city council next Tuesday,
Yeah.
we would beg a recommendation from the planning board.
And part of that is because we don't have a meeting in December where we would take planning board items for public hearings. So that's why we sandwich both of these together. Sandwiching these items like we've done before, planning board this week, council next week, has basically become very difficult for us to do now because the newspaper, their requirements for advertising has gotten to the point to where it makes it extremely difficult for us to do. That's kind of a sidebar, but
Putting it on social media doesn't count?
got there yet.
But our recommendation is just that, a recommendation. And city
Yeah.
council can decide at their meeting to not do what we recommend and do what they want
Right,
to do.
yeah, they
That's
have,
their prerogative.
they have the final say.
We will present it that way, that, you know, we have a staff recommendation. However, Planning and Advisory Board recommends this, and we will present both options to
Yep.
city council for consideration.
I think that's the only reason we're all sitting up here trying to do the business for the city and for, the good people that own the stuff. And I'm just incredibly uncomfortable making a decision on a piece of property that, even though you guys have gone over the top trying to get a hold of them, I still want them to say,
Well, perhaps in the meantime, we will make some contact with them, and they can attend, someone can attend the meeting next
There you
Tuesday
go.
night.
and I'd be very comfortable with that. If they like it, I like it.
Yeah.
If they say they don't like it, then I wouldn't thrust it upon them because they didn't make the request to start with. Yeah. I don't know.
From a staff standpoint, excuse me, we don't like split zones.
No, we
So
don't.
going to
No,
residential
we
is
actually
the
had,
better
we had,
solution from a staff standpoint, from a technical standpoint.
Yeah, but
we had some internal
I don't want
debate
to
on
change
it.
it that way either for the same reason yeah.
We don't like split zoning, but we also don't like creating non-conforming situations. I mean, most of the staff that generated rezonings are for that very reason, to correct non-conformances. But I understand the position.
Yeah. I mean, Logan, you'll be sitting there next week and you'll have to articulate this in such a way that, again, I don't think anybody here is opposed to the idea. We're just uncomfortable that we're making a decision on somebody's piece of property.
The church would be, I mean, the neighborhood too. I mean, that could impact the neighborhood a lot. There's a lot of people that live back that way. So, but I don't get to say so in this meeting, so that's on y'all.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion? Logan, I think you've understood how we felt on it, and you
Yes, sir.
probably are the same way we do. So if someone wants to try to meander their way through a motion, I can't. I'm
I
chairman.
know.
That's all you, Bob.
It's got to be findings of fact also.
Gosh. Well, findings of fact apply to both.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you say it, it does.
I'm gonna have to defer to my Dr. Doug over here. Can you try this one?
I'm gonna make a motion that the request from, Ms. Crutis, that we pass that as far as moving from neighborhood commercial to, corridor commercial. That the other remaining lots stay as it is until we get further direction from the church as far as what their wishes are. I'm a little hesitant about moving forward on that one. I understand the staff's positions also. But I think we should make a motion to go ahead and approve the project site, which includes our already development there, that the first 3 lots there has been requested, and we're going to hold off on the L-shaped property that's owned by the Catalyst Church at this time.
I second what he just said.
You gonna say findings of fact, A through G?
Oh, okay, and binding facts of, A through J, found in the affirmative.
And it's consistent with the county land use plan, is it? Guess so.
Yes.
Okay. You got a motion? You got that? Dr. Lasson's motion? Bob has got the second? Any other discussion? I do like the fact that everyone got to give us their 2 cents worth. Okay. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion as presented, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed like, motion passes. Okay, number 2, Jeremy, this should be shorter.
Board, the planning board may be familiar with this property. This is a request for a type 3 site plan with an approved special use permit for 919 Gum Branch Road, First Free Baptist Church. First Free Will Baptist Church, sorry with the typo. See the property before you on the screen. This property is zoned residential multifamily, and again, it has an existing special use permit, which is required in the RMF LD zoning district. The planning board saw this property not too long ago in March 16th, 2021. It was approved by city council for a 1,200 square foot storage building on this property. And now they're before you requesting additional square footage for 2 modular classrooms totaling 2,710 square feet. They're right here on the property. Once constructed as proposed, they'll be barely visible from Gum Branch Road. Sorry about that. This application was submitted again by the church. Their design professional is Mr. John L. Pierce. City staff is recommending approval of this request, and Mr. Pierce and staff will be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Any questions? Hearing none, motion is in order.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Please do.
I'd like to move that the planning board recommend to the city council approval of the request by the First Free Will Baptist Church for their site plan and with approved special use permit to add 2 modular classroom buildings totaling 2,710 feet.
We have a motion.
Second.
Can I get Grace? Bob's got the motion, Grace has got the second. Any discussion? Sorry, guys, we're glad you're here. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. All those opposed like, motion passes.
It was an intimidating group over there.
I'd like to say on behalf of the church and the board, we appreciate that a whole lot. And they got a good problem to grow it.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
That's a good problem.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Say that this item is going next Tuesday night to the city council as well, and staff is recommending as a consent item, as it is purely administrative approval without the need to go through special use. Thank you.
Is the ball field back there?
It is unlit. That was it. You don't see it ever lit it up because that was one of the conditions of the original special use permit.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, it's up to Ryan.
As Jeremy just alluded to, these 2 items will be before city council next week. And one other item that will be in front of city council will be the Water and Sewer Advisory Board appointment to the planning board. So hopefully next meeting, we will have a new member. The Water and Sewer Advisory Board has recommended that Mr. Nick Simendaris, a local general contractor with Delphi Builders, be our Water and Sewer Advisory Committee member. So council will have that decision on their agenda along with these 2 next Tuesday night. That's all that I have.
He's the tall gentleman over at Dell?
Nick is very tall.
Yes. Good guy. All right, great.
Good thing we don't have low ceilings for when provided the council makes that happen next
We'll give him the
week.
short seat.
I'll leave it at that.
Anything else?
You guys do a great job. Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And thank you for being proactive on things, too. We
Yes.
do appreciate it. Okay, any other business? I will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved, sir.
Motion by Bob, second
Second.
by Matt, sorry. This meeting is now adjourned.